Baseball. Spring Training 2022 rolls on from Jupiter, Florida. The scene, Roger Dean Stadium. It's the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals. Welcome to Cardinals Baseball on Bally Sports Midwest with the Cardinals Hall of Famer Jim Edmonds. I'm Dan McLaughlin. A lot of the main guys, Jimmy, got a lot of work on the backfields today. Inclement weather, possibly this afternoon. So some of the young guys in the lineup, and it's a chance to make an impression.
Yeah, that means rain, right? What you just said,
yes,
that inclement weather. But
well,
yeah,
it's not
you're
going
right.
to snow.
Well, yeah, it's not going to snow. But you're right. Guys get work on the backfield when it's going to rain. Like today, they expect rain around 2 or 3 o'clock. You're going to see a lot of young guys going out there playing against probably a lot of young guys for the Mets, and you never know what's going to happen on a day like today.
All right, we're just about set to go with our first pitch here from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. It's the New York Mets making the trek from Port St. Lucie here to Jupiter to take on the Cardinals. Mets and Cardinals comes your way next on Bally Sports. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Bally Sports Midwest, brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. By Shelter Insurance, for your home, auto, and life. We're your shield, we're your shelter. And by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, for us, Jim Edmonds, I'm Dan McLaughlin. It is our final tune-up before the regular season gets here, and opening day next Thursday, our final spring training game from Roger Dean Stadium this afternoon. And it is a warm, muggy day, 86 degrees. Slight breeze blowing in from the right field line. You can see the clouds overhead. And as we talked about a moment ago in the open, we're anticipating some rain coming through. And because of that, a lot of the regulars were on the backfields getting their work in. That included Dakota Hudson, who was supposed to make the start on the main field today. Connor Thomas will do that for the St. Louis Cardinals. But a lot of at-bats for Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, Lars Nootbaar, Corey Dickerson took about 6 or 7 at-bats back there. So getting their work on the backfield.
Yeah, they've already done their work for the day. And that's just the way it goes. It's not great for the fans, but it's what you got to do to prepare your team for opening day, and that is what matters most. And the Mets, maybe not so much. They brought a couple of guys with them, and we'll see how it goes. But it's not the end-all result about each game that you play. It is about having a positive kind of direction towards opening day, and that's the way you do it. And if we get rain here, then the Cardinals are in a great spot with their guys, their regulars, getting some at-bats on the backfield.
Skip Schumacher taking out the St. Louis lineup card and meeting Buck Showalter. He's been around a long time, and now he goes from MLB Network to the manager of the Mets. You know they're going to spend money, but with that, when you go to New York, you know there's pressure to win.
I don't mean, if for some reason, even if you don't spend money in New York, there's pressure to win.
Good point. That's good point.
Yeah, he's got to, I mean, I feel like every manager in New York's on the hot seat. Doesn't matter what side of the league you're on. And, you know, they have a good team. They really do. And they just, it's always health. It has nothing to do with what you look like on paper. It's how you play, the health of your team. Pitching, obviously, is an issue every year for teams. And if everything goes according to plan, I think they're going to be right there at the end of the season.
They've got a lot of their regulars in their lineup, but it does not include Jacob deGrom. Had an MRI on his shoulder today. He was scheduled to start, so that obviously is a huge piece to the puzzle. 2022 of the New York Mets. They finished last year 77 and 85. And this was a team, Jimmy, that spent 103 days in first place in 2021. So a good portion of the season they were in first place. But no previous teams that spent 100 days in first finished with a losing record until last year's New York Mets. It was a tough final month and a half for them down the stretch.
Well, kind of what we talked about yesterday with the Marlins and how Pittsburgh and Cincinnati's gone through their past. You know, if you haven't had a team that's been together and has figured out how to get through that 6 months of solid baseball, and you know, you kind of, some guys kind of peter out at the end, and as a group, not just players. And you get a guy like Alonso that's just carrying a team for so long, and if he starts to fall off a little bit, it's hard for other guys to pick up the slack, and you're so used to watching a guy like that go nuts. And then next thing you know, the losing streak starts, and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
So the Mets gave that man, Starling Marte, 4 years, $78 million to join them in Gotham. And he's at the top of their lineup. Jeff McNeil, then Pete Alonso, their big slugger, 1 home run this spring. Dominic Smith, Mark Canha, J.D. Davis, James McCann, Travis Jankowski, and Luis Guillorme. Ali Marmol is defensive alignment today. Burleson in left, Antico in center, Connor Capel in right. Spangenberg just picked up, he's at third. Delvin Perez, former first-round pick, at short. Kramer Robertson at second. Lucan Baker at first. Julio Rodriguez is behind the plate. And Connor Thomas is on the mound for St. Louis out of Tifton, Georgia. He'll turn 24 in late May. 5'11", 175 pounds. And last year had 14 starts. Appeared in 22 games at Memphis. He comes in rated as the number 28 prospect in the Cardinals organization by Baseball America. And the first pitch is a strike swung on by Marte, and we're underway here at Roger Dean Stadium. Marte, very good spring. And that's in for a strike to make it 0-2. He's in right field today. Starling Marte certainly can play center, can play left. He can play all 3 outfield spots.
This is a big pickup here for the Mets. Just another piece to the puzzle.
Well, they're not shy about spending some money, that's for sure. The 1-2 pitch put into play, left side, and it is a foul ball. Starling Marte led Major League Baseball at 47 steals last year, and that was in his age 32 season. And he's been a .310 average hitter in each of the last 2 full seasons. He's a good player. We saw him a lot with Pittsburgh.
Just another one of those guys in Pittsburgh that they just couldn't keep.
Well, they could. They just elected not to.
I'm sorry.
Money, right?
Elected not to keep, but it's one of those things.
Delvin Perez shows off the arm. The stretch by Baker, and the first out.
I mean, if you're watching this game at home, you can, kind of accept and understand why the regulars got their work in, and you can also sit back and say, might be looking at the Cardinals of the future.
There's no doubt about it, especially when you think about Brendan Donovan. He's had a solid camp. Not great, but solid. Burleson, they're very high on him. Delvin Perez, a former first-round pick. Julio Rodriguez, the catcher, has thrown out nearly 50% of base stealers in the minor leagues. So undoubtedly some of the guys that they like coming up in their system. Here's a second baseman, Jeff McNeil. At short, they will have Francisco Lindor. He would need a do-over this season. First season of a long-term deal was not a good one for Lindor. Grounded to third. Spangenberg makes the play, and that's out number 2. This is the kind of game, too, if you're a Cardinals player, you make an impression. And, last year was Lars Nootbaar in the backfields. We didn't see Lars Nootbaar in a lot of these games that we were televising, but he would be on the backfields. And when he was called up, we were kind of like, Lars Nootbaar. Yeah. Why? I mean, I'd heard of him, but why at this time? But he impressed the guys on the backfields.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Tommy Edman and the way he played in that spring training about 3 or 4 years ago now, and he did it in front of everyone. And so for us, it was like not a shocker that the next thing you know, he's playing at second base. But when you get a guy in the backfield, and that goes for everyone, if you think about this, even in the minor leagues, if you're at home watching in high school and you're a senior about to be drafted, they're watching all of the time, and you never know when you're going to impress someone, or the other way around.
It's 3 ground ball outs for Connor Thomas in a good start. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Ollie's lineup today: Brendan Donovan at the top, Alec Burleson in left field batting second, then Connor Capel, the right fielder. Batting cleanup: Lucan Baker, Corey Spangenberg, Kramer Robertson, Delvin Perez, Julio Rodriguez, Mike Antico, the center fielder, batting ninth. And the Cardinals facing a right-hander today, Felix Pena. His second appearance of the spring, his first start. He had 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen against the Marlins back on the 29th. And that was his spring debut. He was signed as a minor league free agent in February. And we've seen him with the Cubs, the Angels. So some big league experience, and now trying to catch on with the Mets. So Jacob deGrom scratched from this start, MRI on his shoulder, and Pena getting the call as Donovan pops one foul and out of play.
Well, let's just hope for everyone's sake that Jacob deGrom is okay, because I mean, he is the epitome of an ace starting pitcher in the big leagues, and not just the Mets, but it's good for all of baseball.
On a 0-2 pitch and a base hit into center field. Brendan Donovan serving as the designated hitter today. I think the more you watch him, you like him, Jimmy. And seeing Donovan, versatility clearly around the infield, but a left-handed bat, and that's something the Cardinals were looking for. You think about a very right-handed hitting lineup coming into play this year.
Well, the thing I do like about him right there is you see that kind of swing is he can do both. He'll let it fly, and then he'll cut down his swing when he's in trouble and when he needs to put the ball in play.
Diving catch in center field, and what a play. Travis Jankowski coming up with a dandy in center, and he robs Burleson, and Donovan back to the bag at first base. Really good play.
I mean, all of these guys, just like I said right there, early in the count, he goes ahead and takes a good swing, stays inside of it, hits a line drive, gets robbed here of a base hit. These guys all do a little bit of everything, and that's what you need to get to the big leagues. You got to be able to have power early on in the at bat, and then you have to shorten up and put the ball in play when you have 2 strikes.
Shift on the right side, Connor Capel, and he takes a ball in. So Travis Jankowski, better part of his career spent with San Diego. He can fly. He's got very good speed and showed it off there in center. Cable 3 for 13. He's driven in 4 in this spring. Good changeup had Connor Capel way out in front. 1 ball and 1 strike. So the Mets spend the money on Lindor at the beginning of last season after trading for him. Got him from Cleveland. And then this offseason, Starling Marte and St. Louis native Max Scherzer in the fold. Scherzer had the game's best whip in 2021. And 3rd time through a lineup, Jacob deGrom was the best in baseball too. And that is a swing and a miss.
deGrom might be one of those guys that has the best whip, ERA, soft contact through 9 innings no matter what. He's one of those guys that doesn't matter how many times you go through the order, he's going to be tough.
Well, I bring it up because they always say 3rd time through an order now with analytics get him out of there. The opposition was 5 for 55 against him last year, 3rd time through.
There's certain guys that just don't, you know, tail off. There's guys that just can go out there and their max effort, whether they are or not, or they just keep, you know, it reminds me of like Chris Carpenter, you know. He might struggle early on, and then 2nd and 3rd time through, he's going to make his adjustments, or vice versa. What's working for him, he will just get sharper and sharper as he goes.
The 2-2 put in play to the right side. Out there, the turn and the stretch, double play. What a double play. Turned by the Mets as Capel hit it into the ship. I didn't think they had any chance to get him, but they do. They turn 2, and we move to the 2nd inning. Pick the winner of every team's opening day game and compete to win $100,000 MLB opening day pick'em. See runs and enter at MLB.com/pick'em. Restrictions apply. It's a 1-2-3 inning, 3 ground ball outs for Connor Thomas. making the start today, and he'll get Dominic Smith, Mark Canha, and J.D. Davis. Dominic Smith has really had a good spring for the Mets. Blasted 2 home runs off of Max Scherzer in a simulated game back on the 15th of March. Homered in his first at bat of the spring, March 19th. And going back in his last 25 plate appearances, he's reached base in 13 of those. So he's had a very good camp. Just former top draft choice of the Mets, and then trying to figure out where he would fit in. First base, now is mixed in the outfield, comes off the bench, can hit lefties, so he's valuable. Another ground ball out, hit to second on a hop. Kramer Roberts in there, and that's 4 up and 4 down.
I'll tell you what, this is one way you can avoid the rain, is if you just play the game quickly, throw strikes in and out.
Here's Mark Canha, the former Oakland A.
Talk about
over in the offseason.
Talk about opening some eyes. I mean, you get out here and you throw basically the B Bombers out there in a main game, and you're playing pretty much against at least most of the starting group for the Mets, and you go out there and shut them down. You just might just open some eyes back here and up there in St. Louis in the front office.
When you think about their pitching, they have depth of guys that are coming. We've seen that with Palante, Jake Walsh. But from the left side, Liberatore is always talked about in the big deal that brought him over from Tampa Bay. But you've got TJ McFarland, you got Genesis Cabrera. That's line to center. The catch will be made for out number 2. But all of a sudden, you get a guy like Connor Thomas that's throwing strikes and getting ground balls, especially with this defense, 5 Gold Glovers. You take that.
Especially, like, you know, in the past, left-handed starters have always had a little bit of trouble. We've had trouble as an organization finding someone that can stay healthy and stay up in the big leagues for more than a year or so. So, I mean, this would be awesome to watch him go out there and do this today and just open some eyes. And then you know what's going to happen? Just like it always does. All of a sudden, May rolls around and you need a little extra help, and there he is. Someone's got to come up.
Now J.D. Davis, 294 the average this spring, 5 hits, no homers. He's driven in 4. Lined into center, and a sliding catch.
Nice
and a diving
nice
catch
play.
in center field. Mike Antico takes a hit away from J.D. Davis. That was right when the rain began to just fall a little bit, a little sprinkle here at the ballpark. Let's play in center. Steady rain here at the ballpark as Felix Pena finishes up his warm-up tosses here for the home half of the second. Cardinals will have Luken Baker, Corey Spangenberg, and Kramer Robertson. Baker made an appearance at Memphis last year, AAA affiliate of the Cardinals. So in 3 pro seasons, he's popped 40 home runs. Big kid. 6'4", 285 pounds, Luken Baker.
I said yesterday that somebody had 17 in their minor league career, and I said that was more than I had. This guy had 40 in his first couple years. He surpassed me in all my minor leagues in my first 2 years in the big leagues combined. I always wonder how that kind of plays out, right? Like, you'll have guys that are young.
Jimmy, they're making sure they were going to bring the tarp out, it looked like, and they stopped, and they had to close the right field wagon gate.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's coming down here like Florida rain, and people are running for it.
That's into the gap in left center, and a base hit for Luken Baker. And these managers both would tell you the last thing that they want is anybody to get hurt this late spring training with opening day right around the corner.
Well, the crazy thing here is, you know, just like in St. Louis, it can come down cats and dogs for 2 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever it is, get the field nice and wet, and then just stop raining, and really not much you can do about it. But hopefully this will go away quick, or they'll get the tarp on the field.
Well, I think that's probably their thought process, because if not, they'd be off the field right now. Radar probably showing that it's going to lighten up a bit.
I think it's just a little cell above us, but like I said, as well as you know, in St. Louis, it's the same type of weather. That one little cell can bring an awful lot of water in a hurry.
Corey Spangenberg at the plate. Cardinals have a pair of hits to start this ball game. Baker at first and nobody out in the home half of the second inning.
Talk about rain. I was 29 years old when I got traded to the Cardinals. I never once in my entire life had to turn my windshield wipers on high until I got here.
To Florida?
When I first got traded. First couple days, and then into Missouri, it's just standard practice now for me. But my whole life in California, never once had to turn them on high.
And you're training in Arizona. Not a lot of rain there, obviously.
It'll rain hard there, but we never really got hit by it too much during the spring. Kind of, I think that's the fall is the monsoon season, right?
The 2-1 pitch to Corey Spangenberg. Former San Diego Padre, just picked up by St. Louis. He rips it, and that's a fair ball down into the right field corner. Baker on his way to third base. He'll be held up there. Spangenberg standing up at second, and the first two have reached here at the second, and Pop Warner is not going to send him. He's not going to get anybody hurt.
No, but that is a great swing right there. We've seen him hit the ball the other way during camp, and he just kind of sits back and recognizes the fastball up. And what you do here is all you do is just spin, and the quick hands, just not trying to do too much. And that is a great hitting lesson right there for a guy who just throws the hands at the ball and hits a line drive into the corner. And slow down, big man.
Yeah, Pop Warner had no intention of sending him and getting him hurt or anybody else.
It's funny how the language will change out there on the field from like everyone yelling, run, 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 hurry, hurry, and then everyone's yelling out of the dugout, don't get hurt.
Hold up. Be easy.
Don't get hurt.
Kramer Robertson batting .222. Spent last year at AAA. He's at second base today. He can play all over the infield. Played at LSU. No time is called. It's still raining here at the ballpark, but not nearly as hard as it was a few moments ago.
This is where you hate to be on defense. You're just standing out there getting wet.
And the 0-1 pitch to Robertson. Turned 28 in September. Fourth round selection back in 2017. He was an all-SEC player at LSU. And Mama's a pretty good basketball coach. Kim Mulkey-Robertson drops in for a strike. And it's 1-2. So the sun now peeking through the clouds a bit.
Change up right there. Little change up, little split. See it start off high and just dove down at 82. Pretty good pitch.
Last year, Kramer did travel with the Cardinals to LA, taxi squad member for that wild card game, but did not appear. And he pops that foul and out of play.
It's that same changeup again, I think.
Felix Pena made his major league debut at the Cubs back in 2016. And he also picked up the win of the combined no-hitter that the Angels put together as he went 7 innings.
In the big leagues 7 years now. I've only had pitched in 36 games.
There's a wild pitch. Here comes Lucan Baker, and he will score. It's 1-0 St. Louis. So the Cardinals first baseman scoring the first run of this contest. 1-0 Cardinals. Overcooked that pitch.
Yeah, I don't know what that would have been right there. It wasn't a fastball, that's for sure. Like he almost had like a split-fingered reaction to that. Just held on to it a little too long.
Now the infield is drawn in. 2-2 pitch. Put into play by Robertson. It's a base hit into center. That'll make it 2-0 St. Louis. Spangenberg will score. And Kramer Robertson has his first run batted in of the spring.
Interesting right there with the infield in, maybe playing around a little bit with trying to maybe cut off the run just to see if it's a short game or not. I know the wins and losses don't really mean a lot, but at regular depth, I think he makes this play pretty easy. At least for me, you have one out.
Playing back, probably scores the run.
Scores the run anyways. Now you've given him a hit and a run versus just the run with an out on the end of it.
I think what we've seen out of Delvin Perez in this camp is that he can pick it. I mean, he's pretty smooth at short. It's a big kid to be playing shortstop. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He was the 23rd overall pick in 2016. Last year, he was with Springfield. Ball scooted away, but not far enough for Robertson to go anywhere. Wonder if Kramer Robertson and Pete Alonso saw each other in the SEC. LSU and Florida right there.
Maybe.
Pete Alonso, a teammate of Harrison Bader. It's two pretty good players on your college team.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably a few more.
0-1 pitch to Delvin Perez. It's the question with Delvin. Can he ever put it together hitting-wise?
Pretty good swing right there.
265, the 4 home runs last year. Drove in 23. Didn't play in 2020. Wasn't a part of the satellite camp.
Well, you know, he's been around, what, 5-6 years without playing in 2020. Really only has 1,300 at bats in the minor leagues, and that's a lot. But sometimes these younger guys, it takes them 1,500 at bats. You know, I think maybe 2020 really would have been that point where he would be over the edge of those minimum at bats they like to see young players, and it was a little bit slowly to develop. But like we talked about yesterday, being a right-handed hitter is no easy task.
Jimmy, he's only 23. You know, you forget that. First pro season in 2016, and the 1-2 pitch.
Well, and you think too, in 2016
for this right-hander Felix Pena.
In 2016 and 2017, he only really played in 60, 70 total games. So he's, you know, he's a couple years behind still, and then missing 2020. And also too, he's still kind of lean. You know, he's got some space to grow, and so he's not going anywhere soon. Trust me, that kid's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the near future.
Julio Rodriguez, Kramer Robertson, your runner at second base. And a pitch taken high. So I mentioned he was part of that combined no-hitter. Take a guess of how many combined no-hitters we have had now in Major League Baseball. If you had to take a guess, what do you think?
I'm going to go with 3.
This surprised me. It's the 13th combined no-hitter. Now, good
I thought there would be more, but I thought you were trying to throw me off.
Most teams don't go with their starters, even with no-hitters, you know, intact with the starter. They'll pull their guy and go to the bullpen. And I think we may see that more and more as we advance in baseball.
I believe they had one in Anaheim a few years back with Mark Langston. Before these guys, obviously, way back, maybe even before my time. But didn't we have one in spring training a couple years ago? I know that one doesn't count, but I do remember. But we almost had one the other day with Minnesota. Good jump.
Robertson is in safely in a stolen base at third. That will more than likely bring the infield in again. It's little things like that I'm sure that the coaching staff appreciates.
It's a good jump right there. Not holding him on. This thing right here, though, watch his fingers. That's a hard slide. That's the old Lou Brock slide right there. Remember, every time we see those videos, I say, man, he used to slide late.
3-1 pitch, and it's put in play towards third. No play at the plate. Kramer Robertson got a good jump.
Manufactured run right there.
Third run for St. Louis.
Kind of manufactured it all by himself, too.
Sure did.
Got a good jump from second, steal third, and got a good jump on the ground ball, which is literally right there in front of him. Could have probably been a close play at home, but Davis made the right choice by throwing out the guy at first.
Julio Rodriguez. Here is Mike Antico. First pitch is a strike. So Johan Santana pick up the Mets' first ever no-hitter. That was against St. Louis. Antico grounds out to short. The Cardinals pick up 3 runs, and we have played 2. Rainy day right now here at Roger Dean. We'll see if that changes as our afternoon progresses. Well, it's almost time for baseball in St. Louis. Some of the shots
my man, is he?
From last year in opening day. Cardinals host the Pirates. Bally Sports Midwest will bring you all the opening day ceremonies. Note the start time. It's at 1:30. First pitch at 3:15. Just 6 days away. And we will carry the entire ceremony for you in its entirety. No commercials. You'll see the parade of the Red Jackets, the Hall of Famers. And again, that is 1:30 Thursday. And you can see that on Bally Sports Midwest, the Bally Sports app as well.
See that, though? They must have had a really nice filter right there because that last guy looked really good looking.
Was it Ozzy?
No, it was me.
Oh. Jimmy, you love yourself some Jimmy now, don't you?
Nope. I don't like to see myself on TV. And you know that.
There's James McCann. And this is the new pitcher, Jake Walsh. And you talk about opening up some eyes in this camp. He has done that. Can hit triple digits. Did that multiple times last year as a very good breaking ball. Will mix in a changeup. 2019, out with an injury. This is softly hit, but a foul ball. And then they had the COVID year. And last year, the Cardinals made the adjustment of going with Jake Walsh from starter to reliever. So you're looking at a guy that is maybe ready to make that next step.
Well, he needs to do it in a hurry, too. He's got drafted in 2017. And
Cardinals
since
did
then,
add him, though, to the 40-man roster.
And then since then, he's only really pitched. Oh, he's pitched in 60 games, but you know, like I said, I keep forgetting how much that 2020 could affect these guys. It's just like their innings are just, you know, the amount of times getting out there on the field is just not where they would love them to be. And we all know that. But it's funny when you're sitting up here looking at stats and looking at year to year, you forget there's a big hole missing.
You have to give Randy Flores so much credit.
Now, let's not get carried away.
Well, he's drafted these guys, and then Gary the Rock and his staff being able to develop. But, you know, Randy has done a really nice job, and a lot of prospects are coming.
I love Flo. I'll tell you what, he is. You're right. He deserves a lot of credit. He's one of those guys that came up and was a great teammate.
This is popped up into shallow center field.
Didn't have a long career, but had a lot of success throughout his life as far as college. And then all of a sudden he's kind of taking over. I know he started a business that had something to do with baseball for a while. And then all of a sudden he popped himself back into the game. And now he's basically in charge of all of that in the minor league system, the draft and all that. And it is just awesome to watch somebody that you know kind of grow into that job. And now we're watching everything that he's done is now out there on that field.
Well, for a guy that has had injuries before and arm issues, this kind of afternoon would be a little unnerving for me with Jake Walsh.
Yeah.
With the ball and
you get a little,
all those things.
Yeah, you know what, too? It's they're going to pull them off the field here, Danny. But
yeah.
Back to what you said, there's been a couple times when I've gone into the gap and picked up a ball and spun to throw, and because the ball's so wet, your fingers split, and it's like throwing a split-fingered fastball, and then all of a sudden you can feel the twinge in your elbow. So you're right there. You got to be careful with some of these guys out here when the ball gets really wet.
Well, the Cardinals got a lot of their work done on the backfields, anticipating that this may be coming, and now it has. And if you're a Mets fan that's tuned in today, you hear the name Randy Flores, and you're saying, now, wait a minute, that's the guy that won Game 7 of the '06 playoffs. That guy, he's hurting us again. Flo is one of our favorites. He's done a great job. Well, those fans look like they may wait it out, but I'm not sure we will. This will have to be a decision with Buck Showalter and Ali Marmol, the front offices as well. You know, we weren't anticipating some of the bigger guys, if you will, getting their work in this game. Some of the regulars for the Mets were in there, but this is about pitching in many ways at this time. So
this is kind of what they saw coming.
Yep.
So you try to be careful, and you know, I think that most of the guys that were here this morning are probably at home having a little lunch now, maybe working out, but it was right where they need to be. Keep everyone healthy. You only have a few days left.
So the grounds crew, I'm sure they're plenty accustomed to doing this in Southern Florida, getting that tarp on the field. They've had plenty of practice. So a rain delay here at Roger Dean Stadium on this Friday afternoon. We'll step aside. The Cardinals leading 3-0 here in the top of the third. Be careful out there. Whoops. Ouch. You know, one of the things, too, with a shortened spring training, I mean, every inning is important. And that's something to think about, too, is that you run out of innings down here in spring training. Limited games.
You run out. I like what you said. You do.
You got to get these guys the work that they need. And if they were scheduled to pitch in this game, all of a sudden then you're pushed back another day, and that's not ideal.
Well, I think that's interesting you say that, too, and you look at it that way. You run out of innings, you said, right? Well, what that means at home is sometimes when a guy's having a really nice spring and yet he's still slated for AA or AAA, you think, well, wait, this guy's hitting 500. Why doesn't he stay with the big club, or why doesn't he break and get a better look? Well, because there's other guys that are in front of him that need more at-bats. And so, yes, it happens to be the basically law of numbers, where now you have to, you're limited at time, you're limited with days left and at-bats, and you have to send guys down because you run out of innings. And I think that's interesting you say that, but it's kind of true. You run out of innings for pitchers, you run out of at-bats for players, and that's how the roster ends up taking shape.
Really found it interesting in the conversation I had with Ali Marmol yesterday about you can have a shortened spring, but the intensity has to be taken on the backfields. If you want to shorten it, that's fine, but you better bring the intensity that you would have when you've got a crowd in front of you, as opposed to just what's happening on the backfields. Blake Parker is now the new pitcher in for St. Louis. He's pitched with the Cubs and the Mariners, Yankees, Angels, Twins, Phillies, the Cleveland Indians. The 36-year-old, he is from Fayetteville, Arkansas, grew up a Cardinals fan, and is excited for the opportunity to pitch with the big league club in St. Louis. Matt Rudick is the batter for Jankowski. And the first pitch is hit in the air out to left field. That's a big leaguer right there, Jimmy. One pitch, one out. Hey,
telling you,
sometimes the position players, they're saying, I don't need the work, just get me out of here.
Just swing the bat and hope for the best.
So Walsh got one out. That was the fly out after the 2 scoreless innings from the starter today, Thomas. And Luis Guillorme was to be in this spot, and now it's Alex Ramirez. Looks like the Cardinals have stayed essentially with the group that they had out there at the rain delay, as many of the major leaguers not starting this game, so
I figured
them in.
Yeah, well, I figured when you make that lineup, and you see the regulars out there, as a backup player, you know you're going to be in the game at some point. Well, when you see that lineup out there without regulars out there as the guys on the field, you think you might be out there for 9, so you better be prepared.
And it's a count of no balls and 2 strikes. Hit the other way. Little defensive swing on an 0-2 pitch and a base hit for Alex Ramirez. And the Mets have their first hit and base runner of the afternoon. Pinch hitting for Starling Marte. It is Wyatt Young.
When you'll see this too, you know, by Buck Showalter, he knows he doesn't need to get his guys hurt. Starling Marte only had 1 at bat. Also, you know the rain's coming again, so pick your poison. Is who do you want out there? How long do you need him out there? Sometimes 1 at bat, a couple innings of defense, maybe all you need for that day. At least you get some game action and get on your feet.
Blake Parker has come in and pumping strikes here in this appearance early on. And right on cue, he nearly hits Wyatt Young.
It always works like that.
It does.
Oops.
Right now, really, the big story for the Mets, Jacob deGrom availability early in the season. Where is he at health-wise? Is he left to go get an MRI on his shoulder?
He's got an upper body injury.
Well, he has not been able to stay healthy, and that has been the issue for him and the Mets. He did not pitch after July 7th last year. He had a forearm and elbow issue. Jimmy, at that point in time, he was striking out better than 14 per 9 and walking just above 1 per 9, 1.1. So he had the forearm and the elbow issue last year.
I feel like that happens too. I've seen a lot of guys over my playing career that have elbow issues, that when they come back they're a little stronger, the elbow's good, and then all of a sudden they tend to get little shoulder bites here and there, because now that the elbow is corrected, or the throwing motion might change a little bit, puts a little wear and tear differently on the shoulder. So not surprising, but something you don't want to see.
He said he was going to back off, and when guys say that, I just don't know if they can. You know, even with a Jordan Hicks saying I'm looking to back off a little bit of 101, 102.
I don't know how you do.
It's just so tough to do that, I think.
Hey, that happens until you give up a base hit or a homer. You know,
the game is on the line.
Carlos Martinez, you start the game at 89 to 92 and give up 2 hits and they throw 97. It's like, if it's in there, use it as long as you can. That's what I always thought. Heave ho.
I got you. The 2-2 pitch. And Young with a fly ball out to deep right field. Capo back, it's over his head, and a one-hopper off the wall. A run will score. Mets get on the board. That brings in Alex Ramirez. And Wyatt Young with the 2-out RBI double to make it 3-1.
I can't believe that ball went that far. That didn't sound good. It didn't look good. And that ball took off. I don't think he even gets really through this ball very well, but the ball just jumps off his bat. He's only 5'7", 160. 22-year-old Young. That ball jumped.
This is Rowdy Jordan pinch hitting for Jeff McNeil. So they had Marte, McNeil, Alonso, Smith, Canna, McCann, all guys that could see a lot of time this year in their everyday lineup. So Parker, 10 pitches, 7 of which have been strikes. Give up the single to Ramirez on an 0-2 pitch, and then the double by Wyatt Young. That is taken high. Cardinals have a right-hander getting loose in their bullpen. Boy, how impressive was Jordan Hicks last night. Man, oh man.
Told you Landon texted me and said it's unhittable, but you're right. The consistent around the zone. You know what he didn't have was, until the very end, didn't have the crazy movement. He had good movement, good sink, and the last couple pitches, I think sometimes when he overthrows, instead of a lot of guys' ball will flatten out, his will take off more.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what you're saying about dialing it back a little bit. But just being able to keep 98 to 100 in the strike zone with that kind of movement's tough. But man, he let a couple pitches go at the end, and they exploded. And if you're the catcher, you got to be ready to get that hand out there and get that thumb underneath the ball.
Count of 2 balls and no strikes. And a line drive into right, and the catch is made by Connor Capel. So the 2-out double by Wyatt Young to bring in Ramirez. Mets get on the board after a long rain delay midway through 3, and it's 3-1. Hockey back for you tonight. The Blues and the Edmonton Oilers. You can see that hockey game, 7:30, Blues Oilers on Valley Sports Midwest. Alex Claudio. He's pitched for the Rangers. We've seen him with the Brewers. Also the Angels, and he's got that unique delivery, and good luck if you're a lefty.
This is
not fun.
This is when you decide that you have too much mud on your cleats, or you've had enough for the day, and hopefully your manager will agree.
Signed a minor league deal, invite to the major league camp. So as a hitter now from the left side, what's your approach?
Literally, you know what, to be honest with you, and face plenty of these guys, I try to stay back a little bit on my heels. So not staying back on my heels so much, but I try to stay a little flat-footed and look for the ball up and up in my eyes. And so you try to cover a little bit of the plate, but you just try to be aggressive. You're not trying to pull. You're not trying to hit the ball the other way. You're just trying to hit it. And you're trying to get to it before it starts to spin, which is, you don't want him to get ahead, and you don't want to hit that slider.
And that is off of the lefty, and Claudio was able to hop.
Or you can hit a line drive off his tibia and then have a nice base hit and move on. That's a good job of hitting right there. One thing about some of these specialists is if they come in and they get ahead of you, they go to the breaking ball automatically. And so if you think along with it and you can stay back, he does a nice job of staying back right here. And that has got to hurt.
But you think about adding a guy like Claudio to your bullpen, and we see the velocity that comes out of these bullpens from both sides, righties and lefties. This is a wrinkle that can be effective. Now, the one thing you have to remember is that righties can have pretty good success against pitchers that throw like this, and he's not a hard thrower, but he does give you a different wrinkle in that bullpen.
Well, you just need guys that are successful, right? It doesn't matter how they look, how hard they throw. You want guys that get outs, get ground balls, get a different look once in a while, and that's all that matters. You see guys that throw 100 all day long, just can't seem to figure it out, and you get guys like this that get outs, outs, and outs.
So Brendan Donovan is 2 for 2. Burleson lined out, and it was Jankowski with a diving catch in center to take a hit away. Claudio, a 27th round pick out of Puerto Rico in 2010, and debuted with the Texas Rangers in 2014.
You can see right there why you want the ball up by your face. You don't want to chase stuff like that. As soon as you start to reach and that ball can run from you a little bit, you're done. So you want the ball close to you, and you just want to try to hit barrel.
He's the kind of guy that doesn't allow many home runs, and when contact is against him, it's on the ground. A lot of times he gets soft contact. That's been the numbers with him.
Just keeps you just off balance just enough.
Might be a perfect time for a bunt with this defensive alignment.
Might be a double.
Push it up the third base line, and lefties can do that too. They can pick you off and out.
He's out
At second base, Brendan Donovan.
I want to see the tag. This ought to be interesting. It's a heck of a play if that tag is on the money, because he's all over the place right here. Having trouble getting the ball out of his glove. What a tag.
Here's a 1-1 taken outside. It's a good test for the lefties in this lineup. Donovan started with the ball hit up at Claudio, picked off, and now Burleson from the left side. Capel on deck from the left side. Want to find out about your young hitters? Here's a good chance. Hit into the shift. Taken by Ramirez. And that's the second out. Connor Capel grounded into a 4-6-3 double play his first time up. First pitch floats in there for strike one. Fastball is 83 to 85. He'll change it up, but it's slider after slider with this lefty.
You'd be surprised too if you start feeling like that slider's coming. That 83 to 85 might look 95. It's that slider.
Nothing in two, the count. There it is again, and he gets the strikeout. The strikeout of Connor Capel, and we have played three. Roger Dean Stadium, Jupiter, Florida, the Mets and Cardinals. Chevy called to the pen, and we just had the chance to visit with Nick Whitgren, and now he's into the game. So here's the right-hander. Said he throws the kitchen sink at you, and kind of surprising to me when he said he hadn't thrown to Yadi yet, and just a little bit with Kisner. He's going to be working with Julio Rodriguez. So the 30-year-old, he'll turn 31 on May 29th into the ball game. And let's hope his sons are watching.
I was going to say, you know, somebody's watching, but that happens with a short camp. You know, you're going to get guys that are going to pitch only a handful of games and just might not line up on the same day as the starting catcher, or even sometimes the second catcher, just the way it works, and gonna make the best out of it. And I'll tell you what, I know what kind of player Yadi is. If this guy, when you break camp and he hasn't caught you yet, he's going to run down there and catch you before he gets a chance to catch you in a real game.
Absolutely. Selected by the Marlins, 9th round, 2012. Acquired by the Indians 2019, and then signed with the Cardinals March 13th, and that was the day before the spring training camp began.
There they are, Danny.
Guys, I hope you're watching, Dad. I love that, folks.
Maybe one of them is watching.
They could be down for naps right now, but Dad's in there pitching. Look at that ball and that tailing movement.
Could be here. You never know. Don't hear any screaming yet, so.
That's true.
So family section looks a little scarce today with the rain, so maybe not. There's that changeup right there, Danny.
Yep.
Righty. It's a good pitch. That ball starts over the plate. You have to make an offer at it as a right-handed hitter. So
he mentioned he was born in Torrance, California, then grew up in Lafayette, Indiana, McCutcheon High School. He played college baseball at Parkland College and then transferred to Purdue. Pitched in the Big Ten. He was the closer for Purdue for a couple of years. There's a ground ball. Loved by Delvin Perez. Tell you what, when I watch Perez, it looks like a major league player defensive.
It's smooth right there.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Royce Clayton. Look at the gets out there with the one hand and the long arm, and kind of, you know, Royce was like not a big guy, but he played like a big guy with the way his wingspan and the way he threw across the diamond. He threw a little bit more like an outfielder, got all the way into it. I think that's how Delvin throws the ball. Not short, and it looks good. It looks smooth. There's probably a lot left in that arm. I can promise you that.
Hayden Singer at the plate to face Whitgren. Last year with Cleveland was 2-9 as he appeared in 60 games over 62 innings pitched. That's fouled back. That is the interesting part of his short camp. A catcher getting used to either a new team and a new staff, or finding out the new pitchers in his bullpen, rotation, whatever the case may be.
Well, I've seen it plenty of times over my career. Catcher will run down there, and or even if, say, like, let's say it's the third game of the season, and let's say by any chance Yachty has it off and he starts throwing in the bullpen, he'd run down there and catch him. He's smart enough to know. Yachty's smart enough to know that he would love to see everyone and get a feel for it. You just don't throw a guy in a game, and you know, especially with if you have electric stuff, you know, you could be in for a pass ball or something right out of the chute. And seen him run down there multiple times and try to just get a few tosses in. No game of catch.
2-2 the count on Hayden Singer with one out and nobody on. Fly ball out to right, tailing back into the glove of Connor Capel. 2 outs. Daniel Palka will be the batter. Pinch hitting for Canna. Singer pinch hit for Dominic Smith. Shift on the right side. 2 outs and nobody on, and a 3-1 St. Louis lead. Both these teams coming in with identical records of 6 and 5. And there's a strike.
I'll tell you what, Buck Showalter just got a huge boost from his team, right? Or his team sending those guys that started the game, his starting guys that he brought here, sent them home after a 1 at bat. He just became my favorite manager as if I'm a New York Mets starting lineup. Go ahead and go home. Had enough.
Smart move. Obvious move too. Get them off their feet. Get ready for the regular season. The Mets are all in. And Buck Showalter comes in with a lot of managerial experience. Last 3 managers, and that includes Carlos Beltran. Remember, he was to be the manager. Had no big league managerial experience, but Buck has got 20 years worth of it, 5 playoff runs, and he's used to having kind of those weaker teams and building it up, which he did quite well. And now he gets a Mets team that is willing to spend a lot.
Yeah, I feel like Buck was stuck in Baltimore a few years. Maybe not with the best players, best chance to win. Things change quickly. Been around for a long time.
The 2-2. Ripped out to right. Capel going back. Won't get there. Over his head into the wall. And Polk on his way to second base. Standing up. 2-out double.
He was the manager in my first All-Star game. Thought it was interesting to have different people come in and talk, and just listening to the way they approach games. Approach even like even an All-Star game. You know, you're going to be really on top of communicating with everyone and just be really open, and he did a really nice job with that.
Jose Peroza batting for J.D. Davis. And that gets away. May have even hit the umpire.
Might have been a cross-up right there.
So the 2-out double by Polka, and now Peroza with a runner at third. And yep, he definitely was crossed up as Whitgren is talking there with Rodriguez.
Looked like he called for the changeup and got the old express, as they say. The fastball kind of just jumps on you. Yeah.
Mets, after the All-Star break, hit .225 with runners in scoring position. That was 29th in baseball.
Ouch.
By the way, they also played 14 doubleheaders. That was the most by any team since 1979. And that'll take its toll, too. Whitgren has a scoreless inning. Mets strand a runner. We are midway through 4. And the Cardinals on top, 3-1. The Chevy called to the pen, Adam Ottavino. Many years ago, he was with the St. Louis Cardinals. That's what the Cardinals came up in 2010. At that point, he was a starter and then became a reliever, and a really good one. He's been around for a long time. He's pitched with the Rockies, had very good success there. The Yankees, Red Sox, and now the New York Mets. Young man from Manhattan, New York, now 36 years of age. Adam Ottavino made his debut in May of 2010 with the Cardinals. Selected out of Northeastern University, first-round pick, 30th overall selection, and it took a while for him to kind of get acclimated to professional baseball, but once he did, and also with the transition to reliever, he took off. Rockies claimed him off of waivers, and that's when things really started to change for him too. Luken Baker at the plate. Last year, 69 appearances for Boston, all in relief. He was 7-3, even mixed in 11 saves for the Red Sox. He signs a one-year deal to come to the New York Mets.
In Colorado for a long time.
Yep. And Baker hits it in the air, out to left. Well hit, and it is a home run. Luken Baker just over the wall in left field. And that's his first this spring, and he connects off of Adam Ottavino. Cardinals have regained their 3-run lead. Luken Baker, his first of 2022. It's almost Andy Chavez out there.
Yeah, hit the ball a little bit off the end of the bat, hanging slider. Looked like left fielder was a little confused out there with the sun in your face. But right now is a little tough, even though there's clouds. There's still that sun up there. If you look into it, you're done. And a little bit of a tough route by Matt Ruddick.
There's Corey Spangenberg. He doubled and scored back in the second inning. No Rule 5 draft because of the lockout, and it just got.
God, can you imagine as a
Luken Baker would have been exposed along with Delvin Perret.
Can you imagine being the general manager and your staff, and they say, hey, no Rule 5 this year, and you're saying, oh, I don't have to. It's going to make it a little bit easier on me this winter.
Spangenberg hits it down the left field line, slicing fair and into the corner, and a ground rule double. He's 2 for 2 with a pair of doubles. Cardinals like Spangenberg as a guy that can play all over the infield, left-handed bat, major league experience, and comes with a recommendation from Skip Schumacher. So comes into camp a little late, but today he's 2 for 2.
I like that. And you know, like a guy like Skip comes through and says, hey, there's a guy over, let's just say, you know, there's a guy over in San Diego that's kind of buried. I really like this kid, and he could fill a hole here. He could do this, and I would take him in the big leagues as soon as, you know, there's a chance, and you get a chance to play. That's a good recommendation for someone. If you're a gamer, That's why I said everyone's, there's always somebody watching. You can always make a really good impression. You never know who you're going to impress at what time.
Kramer Robertson at the plate. Singled, picked up an RBI, run scored, and a stolen base. The 0-1 pitch. Ooh, that's pretty nasty right there.
Yeah, that's a tough slider. That ended up being the top of the zone, being on the top edge outside. I think you're just better off, instead of like getting frustrated with that one, you're better off just taking it anyways.
Edwin Diaz in the back end of games for the Mets. Trevor May, Seth Lugo, valuable swing man. They've added Ottavino as Robertson hits it out of play. And the 0-2 taken low. Mets choose Billy Epler as their GM. Buck Showalter manager. Hiring some former Yankees to these leadership spots. First manager was Casey Stengel. New York Mets. Club president was George Weiss. He was a Hall of Famer from the Yankees. As Robertson pops it foul and out of play. I would imagine if you're seeing the Mets, if you run the Mets, you run the Yankees, you're seeing these teams all the time. You do see these guys go to different spots. And I'm talking about players like Ottavino. You've seen him a lot. You know what you're getting. Two balls, two strikes, nobody out. Runner at second. Clouds overhead. It's gotten a little bit darker here at the ballpark. As Robertson pops it up to second for the first out.
Yeah, I think that when you see veteran players that have been around for 10, 11 years, especially as a pitcher, you really want to know, is he still healthy? Does he still have the same kind of stuff? And if he does, I'll take it.
There's Delvin Perez, struck out swinging first time up. And he has looked slick in the field today, really all camp. And that pitch taken for a ball. Spangenberg, the runner at second. 1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. For the Mets to have success, though, this year, their shortstop Francisco Lindor kind of needs a do-over. First year in Queens, and
what a jump.
There's a stolen base for Spangenberg. 2-1, but he signs the extension after being just a lovable, fun player in Cleveland and got off to a rough start. And he signed an extension for $341 million.
Well, starting off in New York and starting off with that kind of contract, I would have to say that you're pressing a little bit. Sure. And then as soon as you don't perform, you're going to get booed, and then you're going to press even more, and then you're going to get a little nervous, and you're going to press more. So yeah, that's got to be a tough one, especially with that kind of money in that city. He's a great player.
Infield drawn in. 3-1 pitch to Perez, and he walked him. David Wright, the former captain of the Mets, talked about how your second year, and he used the example of Carlos Beltran is the difference maker. So Carlos Beltran, 2004, the unbelievable postseason that he had, and really against the Cardinals, but parlayed that into over $100 million for the Mets. And that first year took a little bit to get acquainted, took some heat, but then year two, he had a monster in one of the great seasons, monster year in New York, and really never looked back.
Well, sometimes it's tough to get accustomed to, playing in a certain ballpark every day, at home. You might go somewhere that you didn't have a lot of success at, and it take you a while to get comfortable there as a home player versus just being in and out of there quickly.
Line drive into right and a base hit. Run will score. That's Spangenberg. And the base hit, Julio Rodriguez, to make it a 5-1 St. Louis lead.
I felt like that when I went to Chicago. I felt like I was never comfortable there as a visitor with the Cardinals. And it took me like a couple of weeks to get, used to playing there day in and day out. And then one day it just kind of locked in and took off from there. But it was a little frustrating at first.
I think the big thing is that you were playing in Chicago and we actually got you to come in before 4 a.m.
No. There's no messing around in that city.
Tough place to play, man.
And there's no messing around in that city. That is a 9-to-5 job.
That's how you have to treat it, isn't it?
Yeah, you do. Yep. I set guidelines for myself as far as dinners and the time I needed to be in and out and in bed, and was stuck by it. Like, I was like, there's no going out to dinner and then having fun after. It's like, you have day game after day game after day game, and then a night game and a day game. You're like, you got to be in bed by a certain time because you're going to wake up at 8 or 9 o'clock and have to start heading towards the ballpark.
Race to the bag at first and out as they get Antico. Thought about getting 2, but then got the shore out at first, and that is out number 2. Runners advance to second and third. Oh boy,
that was a good hustle right there. He almost had himself a base hit.
The starting rotation can be very good for the Mets. You got Scherzer, DeGrom, Carrasco, Taijuan Walker, Tyler McGill. And they will be one of the teams that is expected to do some damage in the East. Hit to the right side. Donovan can't get there quickly enough. And Ottavino to the bag. Cardinals strand up air, but they pick up 2. We move to inning number 5 in St. Louis on top. New pitcher in inning number 5 for St. Louis is Aaron Brooks in our Chevy call to the pen. His spring 5 innings, and he has struck out 8 and not walked a man. Aaron Brooks. He is from Montclair, California. He was in the KBO the last couple of years. He's had big league time with Kansas City. He made his debut in 2014 with the Royals. Also pitched with Oakland, Baltimore, and then the last 2 years in the KBO.
I played against Montclair High School when I was in high school.
Well, I figured you weren't in the big leagues.
No, but in Montclair.
Oh, okay.
Went to Cal State San Bernardino. I told you that I was playing against the guy that was supposed to be the best catcher in California when I was a sophomore. He was a senior. It turns out that as he got older, Derek Parks, small world, his daughter is Joe Kelly's wife. I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? She said, nope, grew up in Upland.
Joe Kelly reunited with Tony La Russa.
Yes, he did.
Shervin Newton at the plate. Cardinals have had some success going to Japan or the KBO and finding guys that could really help them. Sung-Hwan Oh.
I'm wondering if I'm wondering certain teams and organizations can do that, and others are just afraid of it. You know, certain areas, certain style of baseball is just not for them, and that's why the Cardinals are taking those chances and ended up being very successful with it. They'd be looking other places than just the standard, you know, Dominican Winter Leagues and the Japanese league, and there's a lot of other places with a lot of talented, you know, players. Just have to find them, and I'm guessing it's not it's not easy work.
Matt Slater is in the St. Louis front office, and he does a lot of that work. Now, video has made that a little bit easier as well. You can quantify some of the video that you see, and there's a strikeout for Brooks to start this inning. But look at the video and be able to do somewhat of an analytic study of what kind of player you're getting.
Oh, and then numbers are numbers, no matter where you're at. And then that will draw your attention to that other stuff. And then you can break it down a little bit closer when you can see, like you said, the video. You know, it's crazy because the analytics are pretty much every ballpark now has got some form of radar, and it's almost like that TrackMan and all that stuff where you can pick up all of those spin rates and all that. So you can basically pull that off of any stadium in America now.
There's a fly ball lifted out to left field. And over the head of Burleson.
The ball's flying today.
It did carry, didn't it?
Yeah, no wind today.
Ruddock the double.
Nice and hot.
The batter will be Alex Ramirez. I'm with you on some of these. They look like
got enough backspin on that right there, and it just took off.
Ramirez singled and scored back in the third inning. And the first pitch taken low.
Wow, that's a good pitch.
This is one of the top prospects for the Mets. Played 18 at 18 years old last year in low A. Baker with the catch with his back to the infield. Nice play, Lucan Baker. So Ramirez is 1 for 2 of the runs scored, but an 18-year-old at A-ball last year and now playing and getting some big league action in a spring game.
Yeah, that's a good play right there by Baker. That's a lot of room over there in spring training. You're talking about some nice foul ground, then you have an entire bullpen, and then some more dirt. It's a lot further than you would normally run for a ball from first base.
Back to the top of the lineup, and Wyatt Young doubled, picked up an RBI with 2 outs in the third, and he pulls it foul. Used to be down in that right field line right there where that was the berm, the grass, and you'd have all the kids down there messing with the bullpen guys, getting the autographs. Now with the netting, it's over.
Now you're just
you have a patio and it's sold.
And now you're just getting drinks spilled on you from the old folks hanging out down there. You went from getting yelled at by the kids to having drinks spilled on your back. It's a nice little area down there.
Oh, I love it.
I like the berm, but I think it was almost like a safety hazard because it was just like
you didn't have the net.
Free for all. Yeah, it was a free for all down there.
And then you get tackled on a foul ball.
Oh my! And tackled when you ran off the field to call it a day too.
The 1-1. Just missed as Rodriguez tried to frame it up.
Too much movement right there by Rodriguez.
Bringing the family down for opening day.
Yeah. I don't have any choices with that anymore. They're to the point where they're at the age where they love it.
They're going.
Yeah.
That's what my kids have gotten with going to the ballpark as well. They love it. So Joe Strom, if you're listening, I may be hitting you up a time or two this summer for some tickets. But I'm always willing to pay top dollar, Jimmy.
Top dollar.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I mean, you know, when there's only a couple of them, 1 or 2 at a time, you know, there's seats behind us so they can keep the whistle. I like to be able to keep an eye on my kids. I don't like to turn them loose in the stands, especially that older one, if you know what I mean.
I just give them a credit card and say, have at it.
Yeah, no thanks.
Amazing how many hot dogs you can eat. There's a base hit into left field. Another run will score. And that makes it 5-2 in favor of St. Louis. Burleson wisely throwing it to short. Not trying to take a chance with a play at the plate. And the base hit by Wyatt Young. And he's driven in both runs today for the Mets.
So he blasts one to right center. And then he stays on a pitch and hits it off the end of the bat for a base hit to left, which is pretty decent swings right there, even though it's not a line drive. It's a good at bat. I always find it funny when you give your son a credit card and you tell him to go ahead and go eat, and at the end of the game they're hungry, and then they have the little #1 finger and maybe some new jersey and a hat, and you're like, where'd the hot dog go? Oh, I forgot about that part.
Well, if you're going to go get the foam finger,
that's what I was thinking of.
This is Rowdy Jordan. You got to beat Keith Olbermann to that stand. Keith Olbermann on our crew, and a worldly man of many talents, but he loves
the foam finger.
Loves it. It's taken high. 1 ball and 1 strike.
The foam finger. I'll tell you what, I'll take anything over the Thundersticks. Those things have made it into my house a few times, and when the kids go to school, they seem to disappear.
Or you could use it as a way to wake them up. Jordan hit by the pitch. Inning started with a strikeout, then the double to left. The pop out in foul territory by Ramirez. Young, the base hit, RBI. Jordan hit by a pitch. And now Warren Saunders.
Just overthrew a pitch right there. He's trying to get in and run it back, and it just stayed in there.
Runners at first and second with 2 outs. Played at Miami-Dade College, Miami, Florida, and he is from the Bahamas. 23-year-old. Last year at Port St. Lucie. And that is off of Brooks. Brooks gets it back from Baker. So that'll go 1-3-1 on the putout. And the inning comes to a close. Mets pick up a run. Brooks stayed with it midway through 5, and it's 5-2. Great moment a season ago as we flash back. You hope to have that special moment on opening day. And Nolan Arenado, his first as a Cardinal. And boy, did he deliver. What a moment. The curtain call, and at that time, limited capacity at Busch Stadium, but boy, it still was loud.
Man, that's some kind of moment right there as a player. First time in, opening day. Wow.
Pirates Cardinals Thursday, our coverage beginning at 1:30. See the parade, the motorcade, if you will, and looking forward to it. Pirates and Cardinals, Valley Sports Midwest.
The motorcade.
There's Burleson with a shift on the right side. New pitcher and a right-hander in for the New York Mets. And the new pitcher does have big league time. That is Sean Reed Foley, selected in the second round of the 2014 draft by the Toronto Blue Jays. He's got a major league record of 7-9. Pitched with the Blue Jays 2018 through 2020. Second year with the Mets. This right-hander was born in Guam.
Look at this.
How about that?
Look at this.
Take him any way you can get him. Well, that makes up for when he lined out to center. You say they even out.
Yeah, they don't, but this one it did. Almost looks as if Reed Foley's fastball is kind of jumpy. It gets on you in a hurry. 94, but kind of just like at the end, it just explodes.
Here's Connor Capel. Capel today grounded into a double play and also struck out. First pitch to Capel, taken high. This young man was coming out of Florida State. He was thought to be a top 15 pick, but he didn't go until the second round, and it was all about signability. So team stayed away and eventually went in the second round.
See what I mean right here? Watch this fastball kind of just jumps right there. Little deception. Tell you what, though, he's going to have to maybe speed up his delivery out of the stretch with guys on base, because it looks to be way above the normal time to the plate.
There's a strike. Boy, he's got a unique way of how he gets ready to deliver the baseball, and I wonder if that's part of it too, maybe just something different. I mean, this is odd. Takes the splitter grip, got a little bit of Craig Kimbrell, then comes even. Plenty set, and with 2 strikes, there's a line drive base hit into right field.
Might have been that hanging split right there. Didn't do anything and just sat there about 85 miles an hour. Pretty good.
Batter will be Luke Baker, who's homered today. Mets got Reed Foley with the trade of Steven Matz to Toronto. Now Steven Matz, member of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's only 26 years old. Baker with his first home run last time up. Looks at a fastball and a strike. He's also singled today and scored 2 runs, 2 for 2. Runners at first and second, nobody out. And the 0-1 pitch to Baker. Good recognition of that pitch.
Yeah, it's good take right there.
Got him 1-1 and back in the 4th. Snuck over the wall and left. First spring training home run. His eyes lit up with that breaking ball.
He sat there for him to hit. Didn't kill it, but hit it just enough.
The 1-1. Baker puts it in play. Could be 2 out there. The turn double play. Two outs, runner at third. Corey Spangenberg, the batter, and he is 2 for 2 today. Well, the Cardinals a couple years ago, they just could not handle the baseball on bunts or on plays like that. That was a perfect delivery by Reed Foley. They had a bunch of errors from their pitchers.
Yeah, I don't think that that's an easy throw either for guys that are throwing max effort to get a ball bounced back to them and have to kind of time it, not overthrow it. Very interesting how so many pitchers have trouble throwing the ball to bases.
Must be bring your dog to the ballpark. That's the second dog I've seen.
Both of them down there behind the plate too.
I mean, there's been everybody's been hustling. No dogs on the field. The 0-1 pitch. Nothing in 2.
There's that exploding fastball.
Seen plenty of hustle and effort today, Jim. Brown's crew, everybody. No balls and 2 strikes in Spangenberg. Oh, 2 pitch. And he struck him out.
Oof.
So the first 2 reached with an infield hit, the base hit to right. Double play off the bat of Baker, strikeout of Spangenberg, and we have played 5. The Blues and the Oilers coming up on Bally Sports Midwest tonight. And that'll be at 7:30. Blues and Oilers. Love this time of year. You get the Final Four, you got the Masters, you got hockey just about set for the playoffs, and the start of Major League Baseball.
A lot of TV going on.
Quickly, it's 0-2. Aaron Brooks, second inning of work. Singer is at the plate, followed by Polka and then Perosa. Big strikeout and 3 pitches in the first out here in the 6th inning.
I don't know if this is a slider. Looks like a nice super tight slider, just straight down. Tough to pick up the spin. You can't see the spin on TV. I bet you can't see the spin at the plate.
Daniel Polka at the plate. Polka doubled to right and is 1 for 1 today. That's what you want to see. Fill up the strikes. Fill them up.
Fill up the strike zone.
Fill it up, ball game. What's your favorite nickname, Jimmy? Do you like ball games? Do you like Hollywood? What'd you like?
I don't really love many of them, to be honest with you.
I've got some
I'm
other
not a nickname guy. That not too much.
Couple of hops, hit into the shift, and that's out number 2, Jimbo.
You're a goofball. I love it.
So Perosa will be the batter, and there's 2 outs. Rounded out to second, first time up. A ball and a strike. Oh, what do you know? Adam Wainwright will pitch against Houston tomorrow. I think that's something like going back.
Did you say that was
like 8 of his last 11 starts down here at Spring have been against the Astros.
Did you say it was the last 3? So this will be the 4th.
So he has started every every start down here this year against Houston.
I'll tell you what, that can make it for a creative spring training. You want to keep throwing the same stuff over and over and over to the same guys.
Baker takes it himself. Adam says he loves the challenge of it. Midway through 6, and the Cardinals on top 5-2. Reed Foley back out for his second inning. 5-2 Cardinals in the home half of the 6th. We had a lengthy rain delay. Weren't sure if we're going to continue this ball game, but here we are, and guys getting their work in, and I'm glad we have been able to do this. Love baseball. Baseball back here in 2022. I'd even announce the fantasy camp if they let me. Come down here. And
as long as they were done by time to get at least 9 holes in.
That's true, too. Joe Pfeiffer and Larry State always doing a great job with the Alumni Association.
They put out a good show.
I'll tell you, Jim,
down here.
It should not be overlooked, as we all love the nostalgia of the Cardinals and
another pooch.
Baseball, the history of the Cardinals. And the thing is, Joe and Larry and their team, as you know, with the Alumni Association of the Cardinals, make it a very, very important aspect of the team, with the different events that are always happening, with homestands, signings, appearances. And not every team, number one, has the history of the Cardinals, but even some that do don't engage the players of yesteryear like the Cardinals have done, and have really taken it to a different level.
Or don't engage with the fans as often either, and I think they do a really nice job of bringing people into the stadium. I think that fantasy camp is underrated. I really think it is. I don't think people realize that you're not just coming down here and you're playing baseball against a bunch of guys. They put on dinners and they bring in Hall of Famers to talk. You get a nice kind of a look inside what goes on every day in the clubhouse as far as spring training goes, is how the meetings and how things work. I thought it was interesting. It was definitely more of an experience than I imagined it would be when I went down for fantasy camp.
Kramer Robertson, the leadoff walk, the second time he's been on base. He's got an RBI, a single, and a stolen base today, and now a walk.
I might have called it Delvin Perez today, Delvin Young, by accident. I don't know why I'm thinking of that, and you didn't catch me. Maybe I didn't do it, but every time I see that name, I don't know why I want to say Delvin Young. But Delvin Perez here with the chance to have another at bat.
Tell you what, Dimitri turned out to be a nice player. Dimitri Young.
Yep.
Spent time with St. Louis and then Cincinnati.
Nice man, too.
Yep. He is one of those players that has come back and done some signings and various things with the club. Mentioned the other day, he had a Zoom with folks at Delta Dental, a corporate partner of the Cardinals, with David Freese and David Eckstein. That was fun. Guys so open and honest about, you know, their playing career and 2 World Series MVPs. See, Delvin is just a little tardy on some of these swings at the plate. Again, his defense, though, has looked very good. Runner goes, hit and run, throw down to second, and save. And the second stolen base for Kramer Robertson. Stole third earlier.
Good jump.
Something that'll be used in the minor leagues again this season, various levels, the expanded bag. So it's about 3 inches to get there, bigger baseball bags, and that'll be used in the minor leagues. It was announced today, and I'm so thankful and happy that they are going to do this, but Major League Baseball, with reviews, will have the umpires address the crowd. So they'll address the crowd
finally,
or, you know, those watching on television. Now, I think there's going to be some plays, ground ball, bang, bang play at first. Okay, you don't really need an explanation. But you do have those ones that can get confusing. An example would be a play at the plate. Is he out or safe? And then that ruling leads you to another challenge of blocking the plate. You know, things of that nature. And so the umpires have agreed to wear a microphone and address the crowd. All the other sports are doing it. There's no reason why baseball shouldn't at this point in time.
Well, I feel like there's a handful of times each year that we do get in that situation where you'd love to hear the explanation.
Or just what they're looking at.
Or, yeah, if they, like, it would be nice to, it would be, what are they doing out there?
I mean, there's times we're left guessing on what the challenge is all about. You know, football, hockey, they do it. Basketball, the officials will come over to the table and explain it to the broadcasters. Had that happen many times. Appreciative that they do that. Why not do it in baseball? 0-1 pitch to Julio Rodriguez. Is an RBI single today.
Not bad right there. We just went through 20 seconds maybe of watching the catcher. He didn't give one sign. Just sat there like he's sitting there now. I don't know if there's him holding on to that wristband or something as a sign or something, but last time he did this, he went slider.
Well, I'll tell you what they're doing, and this is something that has been used in spring training by various teams. He's pressing buttons on his wrist for the pitch call, and that's being then relayed to the pitcher. You can kind of see how big that thing is that he's wearing on his wrist.
I don't see the pitcher looking at anything though. It's like the George Jetsons of the
that he's
baseball.
But
something fishy going on here, Danny.
Well, teams are looking at this, and it's another way to maybe potentially eliminate sign stealing and pick up the pace of play. The 1-2 pitch. Popped up. Right side. Saunders over.
That was a heck of a swing.
Makes the catch.
Tell you what. I'm going to go with this replay right here. This is maybe a little deep, but this is the round ball, round bat theory right here. He doesn't miss this ball by much. That swing is coming through the zone as the ball is coming down, and he just misses, hitting the ball a long way right here. Watch this. Everything's lining up perfect and just deep. Oof. I always try to explain to the younger kids the whole launch angle thing, right? So what do? They first try to lift, and then I try to explain to them, taking a round ball and a round bat. And let's say even if you get a fastball, this round ball is coming straight at you, and you're going to take a round bat and you're going to swing it upward at a 45-degree angle. What is your rate of contact, or what are your chances of squaring that up? Versus if you slow down the angle, lower the angle, flatten out the bat, obviously your chances of squaring up the pitch are a lot more. But I think that thought process right there kind of opens some eyes for some of these kids saying, well, I never thought about that way. Next time you swing up and you hit it. Well, that's why you get so many foul balls and so many swings and misses and stuff like what you just saw. He was all over that, but just barely got behind him a little bit and ended up just being a pop-up in foul territory. A launch angle only counts if you hit it in fair territory, I would imagine.
It's pitch comm that they're using, so there's something inside the hat. I had asked around the Cardinals camp. I don't think that they have used it. I know it's being used around some camps in spring training. So the catcher has essentially a device that he can press, which he's going to do here momentarily, and that's relayed to the pitcher. And so you eliminate putting down any signs.
Interesting.
Yep. 0-2 pitch and a swing and a miss by Antico. sends us to the 7th inning. Matthew Liberatore, one of the top pitching prospects in baseball, into the ball game. Chevy called to the pen. He was the Cardinals minor league pitcher of the year as he went 9-9. His velocity, first game that we did, was around 95, 97. May have been amped up, but consistently he's around 93, 95. Lefties last year hit 244 against him. The key, I think, for him is going to be a changeup to neutralize the righties. They had 17 home runs against him a season ago, and that would tell you that probably needs to be a little bit more of a development with the changeup.
Yeah, and I think what you said too is that overthrowing the fastball can get it to flatten out a little bit and cause you to miss location a lot. And as you know, at the big league level, you cannot do that.
There's Newton, 7, 8, 9 to lead it off. Here in the top of the 7th. Memphis will head out tomorrow from this camp. We've heard so much about Matthew, and he's got a total of 235 innings of professional baseball under his belt. Season last year, he jumped from A-ball to Triple-A, and it was kind of a tale of 2 different seasons. First half was okay. Second half, he was really good. I mean, you could see the progress was starting to happen. We've heard so much about this huge curveball that he's got, and the velocity. So today he's been around 95.
And there's the thing right there too, is that's what's going to hurt you the most. And I know this is just a little sample of one batter, but getting behind is huge. You know, throwing that first pitch fastball and then not even being close with your next 2 pitches. And what does that tell you as a hitter? You got to throw a fastball for a strike now, and then you see the swings that they take. So being able to mix pitches 1, locate pitches 2, but getting ahead is probably the biggest part. Can't pitch from behind and then just go ahead and fire it down the middle.
2-2, hit to third, and the first out here in the 7th. He has made a ton of progress. He and Nolan Gorman, best friends growing up, playing on travel ball teams and whatnot in Arizona, and here they are playing in the same major league organization. How cool is that? I would assume that makes your time together on the road a lot better, and your spring training's a lot better.
Everything a lot easier.
It's a good breaking ball there. Here's Matt Ruddick. I think that Liberatore, if someone is ineffective or injuries, he's one of the first guys that could potentially get a call up, either out of the bullpen or even in the rotation.
I mean, he's got the stuff. You know, he definitely has the stuff, but putting it together is going to be his ticket to the big leagues.
Consistency.
Yep.
Round ball right side. Kramer Robertson with a sliding defensive play to his left. Nicely done.
I mean, you said that Memphis last year. You see this play again. Nice sliding play right here. Not an easy play with that grass wet too, by the way. You don't actually know how far you're going to slide. Triple-A was 9-9. You know, with 18 games started, so I mean, it was you know, hit or miss, right? It's feast or famine, so you got to kind of climb on top of that and battle that and get. You got to be on the winning side of that, not kind of breaking even.
Also pitched for Team USA as they got ready for the delayed 2020 Tokyo Olympics. The 1-0 pitch. Talked to Matthew about that, and he said it was an invaluable experience because that team had some good names on it. A John Jay, for instance, Matt Kemp, you know, longtime major leaguers that wanted to do it. John Jay left a major league job to do it. He was with the Angels, and John was telling me, and he called St. Louis home, but John has such a great story of his family coming over from Cuba, and he said wearing that American uniform, that USA uniform, meant everything to he and his family. So he wanted to be a part of it, and Matthew said he was just a huge resource, asking questions.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and trying to find out what's he need to do to get to that next level. He's only 22 and will not turn 23 until the middle of November, and a 2-out walk. Last year he had 33 walks in 124 2/3 innings.
Well, the one thing you can see just a little bit is I feel like when he misses, you can kind of see him just fall off a little early, fall off to the mound, up to the right side, and kind of leaves his arm a little bit behind and then misses up. I feel like his mechanics at times need to be a little bit more squared up to the plate and stay there a little bit longer and deliver the ball in that strike zone more often. I've seen a lot of just pitches just missing. I feel like he's just falling off just a little bit too much.
This is where you break off one of those nasty curveballs after up and in.
Ugh. This is where you're sitting on breaking ball if you're a hitter.
The 1-0, and he got the fastball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Acquired from Tampa Bay at the Randy Arozarena deal. One ball and 1 strike. Arizona High School Player of the Year. Had signed to play at the University of Arizona, then became a top pick for Tampa Bay.
Notice that right there. To see how closed off he stayed and how calm his body was right there, and he delivered a strike, and then you see some of the other pitches where he falls off and then the ball just he just loses it.
There's talk about, you know, gym rats in basketball. He and Nolan Gorman are baseball rats. How many times do you hear a 22-year-old say, I grew up idolizing Sandy Koufax? And that is Matthew Liberatore. Big breaking balls, so he would see the videos of Sandy, those that existed, knew all about him, has researched him. I think that is so cool about the game when you hear stories like that.
I mean, Sandy was before my time as a kid almost, you know, like, so definitely way before his time.
The 1-2. Lifted in the air down the left field line and out of play. When you're in a minor league park, you're Spangenberg, you got to worry about the bullpen, the mound, people, chairs.
So that's a long run down there too. It's a lot of foul territory going at an angle down there.
So Matthew was the 16th overall pick in the 2018 draft. The 1-2. Check swing. And did not go. Once we got the official word down there. Our third base umpire.
Took him a while.
Did. Just wanted to evaluate it. He was the highest drafted high school player in Rays franchise history. The 2-2. Fouled back.
I think I would have had that one.
That was coming right.
That was coming right at us. Would have hit this center beam in between you.
I think it would have hit me between the eyes.
It was coming. That was the closest one.
Never had one in this booth, nor at Busch Stadium, I don't believe.
It'd be tough here too with that big net. This overhang, we got no chance.
The 2-2. Breaking ball and a beauty. Taken just a bit low. 22 pitches, 12 have been strikes. Big kid, 6'4", 200-pounder Matthew Liberator. And a swing and a miss, and he gets the strikeout. And let's stretch this Friday afternoon here at the ballpark. The Cardinals leading by the score of 5-2. Chevy called to the pen, and the Mets going with the right-hander. It's traded for Lucas Duda, came over to New York, and that is Drew Smith. Last season, 31 games in our Chevy call to the pen. So the Mets, as we've been talking about, are using a device called PitchCom. And this did pass the safety test conducted by Major League Baseball. So you have a transmitter that is worn on the wristband of the catcher, and it's kind of within the sweatband of the pitcher's cap, padding of the catcher's helmet as well. But you have 9 buttons to signal the desired pitch, and location comes pre-programmed, and it's in both English and Spanish tracks. Low A West, that's previously the California League, and they're going to be using it this year. The idea is to try to increase the pace of play. And a pitch that is popped up by Clint Coulter, and it's dropped. You can see it coming. So Perosa couldn't come up with it. How about that, though? Pre-programmed with English and Spanish audio tracks. And each team, if you want to, you can record your own. And big league pop-up, and sometimes you see that in minor league baseball.
Yeah, you can program the pitches, but you just can't catch them. So I'm guessing that if he pushes the button, it says fastball in his ear, or a beep, or
yeah. And then he can cancel it. The catcher can as well. There's actually a cancel button there.
It's like Siri all over again.
Here's Burleson. The Mets announced that Jacob deGrom underwent his MRI today. He has a stress reaction on his scapula that has caused inflammation in the area. He has to discontinue throwing for up to 4 weeks and then re-image the area.
Ouch.
Wow.
That is not what you want to hear.
You know, one of the big concerns for many teams down here and talking with scouts is that they feel there could be a rash of injuries early in the season because of a shortened spring. There's a lot of concern about that being talked about. So you'd have to say that Jacob shut down for 4 weeks. So you're talking, then you got to build back up. It's early May. He's not built back up anyway. I mean, you know.
You're 4 weeks and then 4 weeks.
Yeah. That's a big loss.
Well, you're going to find out who was in shape coming to camp and who wasn't, I think. Because I think if you've been doing the things you're supposed to do and you come into camp, you know, I think you get hurt as players more in spring training than you would during the season, because you're doing more stuff every single day. During the season, you may not run hard for a day or two. You might not play for a day or two. It gives your body a little bit of a break. But you're out here doing this. You're running in the thicker sand in the infields, and you get in these rainy games, and some of the fields are a little thicker. You tend to get some sore muscles, but I feel like if you get through that point, you usually don't, running wise, you don't usually get as much strain on your body during the season as you would during spring training. So I feel like if you've done some work and you get through camp, I think you could be fine. It would be interesting to see that the pitchers, especially the relievers, what comes of that.
Another part of this is that deGrom had been vocal in saying that he was going to opt out of his contract after this season. Well,
A little too early for that.
Yeah, maybe not so much. Here's Connor Capel with one out and a runner at first. Capel with a single today to right field. Grounded into a double play and struck out. And hits it out to deep left field. It is at the wall and caught. Gave that a ride to the opposite way.
Yeah, the ball is flying today. Well, now look at the wind. All of a sudden, it's kind of blowing across. You don't ever see it going that way, out, especially out to right.
Pretty good poke opposite way. Coulter had to get back to the bag, and now it's Luken Baker. First pitch, a strike. Baker with a home run today. Also has singled. He scored 2 runs, 2 for 3. The 0-1 pitch to Baker. Had over 100 strikeouts last year, but with the strikeouts comes a lot of power too.
Yep. Seems to be the way that it's going. All or nothing.
75th overall pick in 2018. Now 25 years of age. And a swing and a miss and a strikeout of Baker. We move to the 8th inning. Just a nice lazy day here at the ballpark. Hope you're enjoying it as baseball is back for the 2022 season. Cardinals have out hit the Mets 10-5 and they lead it 5-2. They jumped out to an early 3-0 lead. And it's now 5-2. Very easily could see Matthew Liberatore finishing off this game. Be pegged as starter the Memphis rotation. Talking with John Mozeliak today and asked him, I said, how did it all come together with Albert Pujols? And he said, pretty quickly.
I told you, Albert told me like 10 hours, and I know he's probably exaggerating, but still. It's a quick one.
Said, you know, it wasn't like the young guys had just these remarkable springs to break camp with, and there was a fit. It's a great fit. It's a fun fit. It's a neat fit. And he said, Albert is about as happy as I've seen him in a long, long time.
Yeah, he looks great.
I mean, he's just smiling. He just looks like he's enjoying it, Jimmy. Talked briefly with him today at outside the clubhouse. Ground ball that's hit to third. I'll say this too, as Baker stays on the bag.
Wow.
I also think he looks in pretty good shape.
Yeah, he looks great. He really does. It's a nice play by Baker right there. He's just nonchalantly just caught it and came off the bag on his own. And no, I think I think it's going to be a big boost for everyone, and I think that he gets his chance to play. I think he's going to be re-energized.
Warren Saunders. This is a tough day for the Mets with Jacob deGrom out with a shoulder issue. And again, he didn't pitch at all in the second half of last season. So for the money they've spent, the Mets are paying Scherzer and deGrom more than $76 million combined for just those two. That is hit out of play. Now, if you look at it and say we're going to get 60 to 65 starts out of those guys, that's a 30-year regular season. You expect them to dominate. You say, okay, best 1-2 punch in baseball, but you have to be healthy.
Yeah, that hurts. It really does. It hurts It hurts everything. It hurts your pocketbook. It hurts your starting rotation. It hurts the morale of your team.
It's a hanging breaking ball and a one-out double here in the 8th inning. I think if you're the Mets, I mean, you're concerned going into this season. DeGrom did not pitch in the second half, and then, you know, Max Scherzer is an animal. I mean that in the best way. I mean, he's a gamer, but he's 37 with a ton of mileage and workload. So from the Mets perspective, I mean, you just hope he stays healthy. What an amazing career he has had.
I'll tell you what, I mean, you can count on him, but it'd be nice to count on 2 or 3 guys and not just on him. So, you know, you're going to have to get, someone's going to have to step up. But like I said, that's a crush to the morale of New York Mets.
Let's see, Liberatore heads up play after the catch by Perez, sneaking in behind the runner to try to maybe get a force play and a double play.
A little sneaky.
Yeah.
A little quick release right there. Might have caught him.
Good fastball. I like how Liberatore, too, he throws downhill. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I felt like when he falls off to the side a little bit, he loses a little bit of that down angle and a little bit of the strike zone. When he stays in there and stays closed, he gets that pitch right there.
0-2 the count on Daniel Polka.
It's almost like the Michael Walker effect, you know, when he lost that arm angle up high.
Yep.
And lost a lot of his effectiveness.
The 0-2 pitch. Liberatore. Breaking ball taken high.
He overthrew that one.
This is the kind of day for the Mets. You wish they were talking about Sid Finch instead of Jacob deGrom. Sid Finch. Remember that? The April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
It's April Fool's.
You hope so.
That was fun. This guy that comes out of nowhere, he's throwing heat. Could be an unbelievable pitcher.
Nice block right there.
So they would have McGill, Peterson, Williams in their rotation. Connor Gray has had a pretty decent spring for the Mets. But they're willing to spend money and go over, you know, 280, 290, 300 million on their payroll. That was close again to us. That would have been right to us, Jimmy. Inches away.
Gosh, let's get in there. It's so exciting to see jump around and the ball goes flying through these windows. Just like to lean over and duck.
Well, right of spring training and Cardinal baseball is the time that I saved Al in Milwaukee. Rarely bring it up. That foul ball that made it to the booth. The 2-2. Tails back in, doesn't get the call.
Al was diving.
That was underneath the table of the booth. I was there to protect him.
You might have to do the same for me, because I told you what, that ball coming back here spinning like that, I'm not putting my hands on it. Oh, we got a shot.
Oh, he got him. Rodriguez showing off the arm. Perez was there. The shortstop sneaking in behind him, and they pick him off. Told you earlier, Rodriguez, about 43%. He has caught base stealers stealing in his pro career, and a bullet down to second base.
Just a little opening.
5-2 our score. Home half of the 8th. This is one of the 40 players remaining in Mets spring training. 6'7", 240-pound right-handed reliever, Colin Holderman. And he has been awfully impressive. He is a hard thrower for the Mets. He has struck out over half the batters he has faced. So he's made a big impression in camp. Been sitting in the high 90s. Got a sinker. And put himself in the mix, potentially, in the bullpen for New York. He's a 26-year-old. He's never pitched above Double-A so far in his career. Buck Showalter was saying earlier this week that he's got my attention. He has all our attention. It's a 9th-round pick, 2016.
A little breaking ball right there.
And that is lifted in the air down the left field line, slicing fair. Corey Spangenberg making an impression in this game. That's his 3rd double of the afternoon. He's 3 for 4, 3 doubles, a stolen base, and 2 runs scored.
Just threw it down there in the left field corner. That's what I'm telling you about right here. Watch this. This ball's a double, right? Take it easy. Let that ball bounce off that wall. Make sure you don't play it into a triple. Although, if you want to, while we're hitting, it's okay.
Kramer Robertson, 2 stolen bases today. He has singled, scored, walked, 2 steals. Also made a diving stop at second base.
He's earning his money today. Look at that uni.
Been busy.
Now it's going to be up to Mark Walsh and the boys to earn their money and clean that up.
Mark Walsh and the staff of the Cardinals in the clubhouse, many years.
Many years.
And one of our favorite people.
Good take right there.
Mention all the time how those guys have long days in the regular season. Spring training, they're really long.
They actually kind of go in shifts because it tends to get a little lengthy.
2-1 pitch. Colin Holderman. Good sinker. Two and 2 the count. Spangenberg, the leadoff double. Cardinals trying to add to their 5-2 lead. They have out-hit the Mets 11-6 in this one. That's hit the other way, and a fair ball over the first base bag. Robertson to second base and sliding in safely with a double to bring in Spangenberg and extend the St. Louis lead. Back-to-back doubles for the Cardinals in the home half of the 8th.
And a little more dirt on the uni.
The double by Spangenberg just inside the line, and this one just over the bag.
This is just a good piece of hitting. This is just not trying to do too much, staying on the ball, and really just trying to put a ball in play with 2 strikes. And I mean, you get rewarded when you do things right, and it doesn't look great. It's a double in the scorebooks, and that's all that matters. But putting the ball in play sometimes is exactly what you need, especially with the way teams play the shift.
Backs up for a ball inside. Delvin Perez at the plate. 2 strikeouts and a walk today. So with the runner at second, that's when teams will go to that device on the wrist of the catcher and not put down the signs. Just better hope the volume in the pitcher's hat is not too loud. Apparently it's encrypted as well, so if you wanted to try to hack into it, you can't do it. Everything is specific for each team. There's a broken bat. Slowly
out.
hit too short, and Perez is out by a step.
To see where that bat went, that's all the way in the camera well past the Mets dugout. It went further than the ball. That's the second time this spring we saw one explode like that, and I haven't seen something like that in a long time. Those bats are getting a little dry again, maybe a little bad batch of maple. And that thing was, that's amazing. How far do you think that is? Over 100 feet?
Yeah.
In the air? Whew.
Infield in. Rodriguez at the plate, and a ball down and in. One out, runner at third. Cardinals leading 6-2. This guy's got pretty good stuff.
Breaking ball right there.
Yeah.
It's just one of those guys, you know, you keep the ball at the bottom of the zone, have some velocity so you can get guys to cheat, and if you can throw that around the plate, you could be successful all day long.
The 1-1.
You know, I keep telling you that I was drawing a blank on pitcher with incredible stuff, but always got behind and got hammered early in his career. I was talking about Zach Greinke. You know, he's one of those guys like that with just really good stuff, but tried to be so nasty. He was always 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, and getting blasted. And as soon as he started throwing strikes, he was lights out because of his stuff.
Many that believe he's a Hall of Famer.
He's going to be right there, I'll tell you that much.
It'll be the starter on opening day for Kansas City. Tied him up, and a strikeout. Here's Antico for St. Louis. Even as a baseball fan, I don't have to hit against Jacob deGrom, but I love to watch him pitch. That is terrible news for the Mets, obviously, and for those that follow the sport. I mean, there is a energy and excitement when he's on the mound. It was kind of like that with Pedro Martinez when he was there, even in the latter stages of his career. It's electric. I mean, you really feel that he is truly one of those guys that if he takes the ball, you may see something special that day. And he pitched against the Cardinals earlier in spring.
I watched that game. I couldn't turn it off that first couple innings.
Yeah. Nobody throwing for St. Louis in their pen. Cardinals will look to get Liberatore through a third inning.
So this is the second hitter in a row, even though he has 2 outs, where he had a 1-1 count and threw a pitch that was completely unhittable to make it 2-1 or 2-1. So threw a pitch completely out of the zone right there, trying to be too nasty, that ended up putting him back in the hitter's count.
Base hit into right field. Mike Antico. That'll score Kramer Robertson, and the Cardinals extend their lead in the home half of the 8th. It's now a 7-2 ball game. So 2 outs and a runner at first now, and Antico comes through with 2 outs here in the 8th. Here's Coulter, who reached down the air on the pop-up on the infield. He has spun a few of those up there in this inning, and you look at it and you go, that's pretty good stuff.
You know what, he's got a kind of a bigger one, and then he has a little bit of a tighter breaking ball, and then you saw the changeup, which looks like it could be good, but he's spiked a couple of them, and then fastball's got good velocity, and a couple of them have run, a couple of them have gone straight down, and a couple he's overthrown that have stayed up, but that's all part of the gig, right? You don't know where it's going to go. It's a good fastball right there at 96.
0-2 the count, with Coulter at the plate. Chase Pinder is on deck. Took over in left field. Just got a piece to stay alive. We've got the chance to visit with Cody Whitley today and Nick Whitgren and see some of these minor league guys.
We got to really take advantage of live TV today. On the fly.
And baseball, man. We're back. It's the best. Come on, Jimmy.
You're back.
Well, this time of year,
killed it.
Be getting kind of like that itchy feeling. You know, you played forever in the game, and you're like, okay, body clock is telling me.
Yeah, it's telling me, hey, our flight's in a couple hours. We got to get going. That's what it's telling me. Because this is our last TV game of spring.
And then we'll be with everybody come Thursday. Coulter, the strikeout. Cardinals add to their lead. 2 more runs at 7-2. Seen a couple of scoreless innings from top pitching prospect Matthew Liberatore. Trying to go the final 3, and the Cardinals lead 7-2. Jose Peroza, no check that. It is Matt O'Neill at the plate. And that pitch is popped up right side and out of play. The 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Cardinals with a 13 hit attack in this ball game. Line drive and just past Kramer Robertson and a base hit. And O'Neill will wind up at second base. Leadoff double to start play here at the top of the 9th.
Tell you what, you see a replay of a really good swing by a guy who's just trying to hit a line drive. This is a great one. Great swing, staying inside the ball, hitting a line drive. Look at that. That's a nice swing.
Here's Newton, and he looks at a pitch inside. So Liberatore getting stretched out a little bit here before the Memphis season begins. 43 pitches, 24 strikes. Newton is 0 for 2 today. Runner at second, nobody out. And a foul ball, 1-1. One of the things that Matthew Liberatore can never worry about is that he's the other guy in the Randy Arozarena deal. Arozarena burst onto the scene. He was amazing for Tampa Bay in their postseason run. Solid year last year. But the Cardinals feel that they got something special here. Time will tell. But you can't worry about that.
No, you can't.
Human nature, you can understand why you might, but you can't do it.
Yeah, that's something you can worry about if you're not pulling the trigger and you happen to move on. But I mean, you got to look for what's in front of you, and you know what? You know, there was really no room for Randy at that time. And you go out and get something that you really need, and you also have to look at the future. And Randy really never showed that what he had done warranted what he did, you know, when he got traded. So you live and you learn, but you have to take those chances.
Well, you could say that, but also you could say he was tearing up at Memphis. And did he deserve a spot and a run with the Cardinals? Didn't happen. Trade was made, and time moves on. The 1-2 pitch. Inside, 2-2. But that's the risk you run when you're in that seat of making those deals.
Ooh. You ain't kidding. I mean, you're going to lose a few.
That's right.
I don't even think that's a loss, to be honest with you. It's just...
You got to let it play out.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that you have to be fair about it. And initially you'd say, well, Tampa Bay got themselves a guy that turned into Babe Ruth for a stretch run and was solid last year, and he's doing it at the major league level. Matthew hasn't done that yet. So right now it favors Tampa Bay, but in the long run we'll see how it plays out. That curveball taken low, 3-2. And that's the way I think you have to evaluate those types of deals. Let it play out. Now the Cardinals stuck with O'Neill, Bader, and Carlson in a move that has paid dividends.
Well, and I also think you got to think of it the other way around. You know, there's a lot of guys that got stuck in the minor leagues for a lot of years, so you could almost give credit to the front office for seeing a guy that might have potential and letting him go. You know that he's not going to get any at bats, but he can help someone, and you can have some value to get somebody else for him, and knowing that he's going to be a good player, but he's just not going to get a chance to play here.
Didn't get the call on a pretty good pitch.
It was a nice pitch.
A double and a walk. Runners at first and second. Cardinals have a right-hander throwing in their pen. Cardinals at Houston tomorrow night. Then an open date. They'll finish up with Washington and Miami. That'll be a 10 o'clock St. Louis start. That, by the way, AM. The giveaway coming up on the 5th against Miami. The 1-0 pitch. A ball and a strike. The 1-1. Good pitch. We're talking about those guys that have curveballs sometimes with a big hump in it. Every once in a while you see that with Matthew, but
he has a break. He stays tight, and that's the thing. It's just, can he throw it for a strike when it doesn't have the hump in it?
There's a strikeout. Good pitch. It's a spot, and the first out here in the top of the ninth. And it brings in Alex Ramirez. Mentioned that this young man, 18 years of age, top prospect for the Mets. And now Ali Marmol will go to his bullpen, and that'll be it for Matthew Liberatore. So Thompson will come in, the right-hander, and try to finish off the Mets when we come back. Next telecast for us will be Thursday, and that'll be the opening day at Busch Stadium. Coverage beginning at 1:30 on Bally Sports Midwest. We'll have the parade, the Hall of Famers, the introduction of the players. It's always a very special ceremony, and it just got even a little bit better with the addition of number 5. So don't want to miss it. 1:30 Thursday on Bally Sports Midwest. New pitchers Corey Thompson, signed by the Cardinals as a minor league free agent. Back in 2017, our Chevy called to the pen. He was converted from shortstop to pitcher. Originally a draft pick of the Cincinnati Reds, 5th round in 2013. And there's a strike. So the pitch count was starting to get up there a bit, and Matthew Liberatore taken out of the game.
Well, you got your wish. You got him to stretch out a little bit.
Yes. The 0-1. Hit down the right field line and out of play. Jimmy, I want to tell you that Thursday will be sold out. So the traffic will be aplenty in St. Louis.
As
so
always.
make sure that you leave early enough to get in your convertible, all right?
As always. And good news, it's going to be decent weather. It says a high of 50 right now, and that's decent compared to where it's been.
I'll take that.
We came down here, and I think the day I left, it was 34. And I landed here in jeans and a sweatshirt, and it was 83 and hot.
Thompson last year 9 games appearing with Springfield. He had 17 appearances with Peoria. It is going to be really interesting to see guys that lose that year of development of 2020, and I mean across the board, pitchers, position players, and what that does with their development.
Well, I think too, in just looking at Corey Thompson being a certain age.
Could be 2, 4, 6, 3. Double play to end it. And the Cardinals get the double play, and this ball game comes to a close in a final of 7-2.
Pretty good game for a bunch of guys that got out there early. Not a lot of stars out there today. A little bit of rain, a little bit of everything, and come up with the victory. Your offense throws out 13 hits and 7 runs. You got to be happy with that, especially with everybody that is in the starting lineup was on the backfield early in the day.
Corey Spangenberg with 3 doubles today. The Cardinals win it, their 7th win of the spring. We'll be back to wrap it up in a moment.